So you think your teenager is lying? I can help. You're going to learn about what to watch for and what to do. So stay tuned and listen all the way through the video. Lying is not cool. And why? Because it causes problems. Lying, is deceiving, it's misinformed, it causes delays, it causes tension, emotion, can really cause a problem between relationships, loss of trust. So lying is pretty bad, and we all hope that everybody's telling us the truth. Well, you may have a teenager in your life, and this teenager, not all teenagers are this way. There are good teenagers who tell the truth, who are honest in all their dealings, and they really, really do communicate clearly with their parents. And I know you're probably thinking, who has one of those teenagers? I want one, right? But okay, why do teenagers have such a glitch here about telling the truth? My thoughts on this and what I've found over the years of mentoring and coaching and teaching seminars, I've been around literally tens of thousands of people and been around a lot of teenagers too. The reason why they lie is because, number one, they literally are confused. They're confused about their identity. They're confused about what they really want in life. They get themselves into situations, they are just being reckless, and now they got to cover it for themselves. And because they're just so out there and putting themselves in situations because of their reckless, rebellious, playful, messing around kind of behaviors, it gets them into situations that really, if they were responsible, they would have never have done those things. Because they don't know their level of responsibility, they do cause a lot of problems. And now, us as adults, our job is to help them tell the truth. Now, hear me on that. We help them tell the truth. Now, people do lie. They do. Good people lie. They tell little bits of information that's partly correct, and then they throw in something that's not correct. There's a little bit of a liar in all of us, that there's some little part of the data or the information that's just tweaked just a little bit. So if you're going to come from the stance of, I can't believe they lie, well, you might want to look at yourself and notice that you don't tell everything accurately either. But when there's a full-on big old lie, and they're really trying to get out of being responsible, or they're trying to cover something up, that really, that needs to be looked at, talked about, and exposed. So how do you catch your teenager lying? What are some signs? Well, here's a couple that you can watch for. So as you're talking to your teenager, and while they're in the discussion, if they do not have that good of eye contact with you, it doesn't mean they're lying. Okay? If they're not looking at you and they're looking down, it doesn't mean they're lying. Just be careful with that. But while they're looking down, if they start rubbing their face or rubbing their lips or rubbing their hands, now you want to pay very close attention to the details they're saying. And you would be really smart to take a pad of paper and write down the details that they're saying. A great way to catch somebody who's lying is literally get a pad of paper, write down what they're saying. Because number one, if they see that you're writing down what they're saying, they're not going to remember it. When a person tells a lie, they have to manufacture some information that's not true. And they can't tell that information again in the same accuracy because it was made up. So so when you're writing it down, because now you're starting to see them rub their face, rub their lips, rub their hands, now it's like, uh-oh, something's not correct here. You get a pad of paper, you just tell them, hold on a second, I want to write some of these things down of what you're saying. That creates intensity inside of them that now they have to remember everything they're saying and it's going to cause them to make mistakes in how they're explaining what went down. So if they're looking down, that does not mean that they're lying. But once they start to rub their lips or their face, like their jawbone, or they're rubbing their hands, when they rub their face, they're actually trying to, they don't know it, but actually they're trying to push and move all the blood that is rushing to their face or from their face. So they're having a blood supply problem, which tells you that they're not thinking correctly right now. There's not honesty going on. And when they go to cover or rub their lips, they're actually wanting to say things, but they're holding back. And then because they keep auto-correcting inside of them, and they keep editing it before it comes out of their mouth. So rubbing of the face or the lips is a sign of a lot of editing happening inside. And then if they're rubbing their hands, they're literally trying to say, wow, I hope I get away with this. I hope I don't get caught. So those are some signals to watch for. So again, be careful on if they're looking down. Don't make your teenager look at you. Don't force them to look at you while you're trying to sort everything out. Let them look around. Because once you start to give them instructions to make them look at you, now what happens is they surrender their control of themselves and they go stone face. You don't want them to go stone face. So don't tell them to look at you. Let them be sloppy in what they're doing. Let them be loose with their moves so you can see what's going on with them. That's a big mistake parents, grandparents, leaders do with teenagers, is they force them to be in some kind of stance or position while they're talking to them, and then it gives them every right to just go stone face. Okay, another signal that there's something up and they're not telling the truth is when they start doing little coughs. And it's this nervous cough. And what's happening is they're trying to clear their throat because they have what they ought to say, and then they have what they're going to say. And there's a conflict in their throat. There's what they should say because that's the truth, and then there's what they're going to say to try to cover them up so they don't get busted. And so this conflict causes the vocal cords to literally get irritated, and you hear this little like they're like something trying to clear. Or if all of a sudden they just like they start coughing really loud, that's also the same signal. Or if they pat their chest or rub their chest, that has to do with trying to clear their throat. And it just tells you that there's conflict happening. Now, if they're looking at you and you're asking them to tell you the details, and while they're talking to you, their eyes go up and down, up and down, up and down, they're making up information. If their eyes go side to side, they're listening to what they're saying. They're trying to figure out what you're going to say about that. But for me, whenever I see somebody go up and down, I know that they're going up to try to come up with ideas. They're trying to check in with how that's going to feel after they say it. Is this going to get me in trouble? I hope not. What do I say? I don't know if this will work. And they're doing this up and down. Like up is trying to gather the information, down is trying to gather what emotion should go with it. And so they're really in the manufacturing process of what they're going to say. But when they sit there and they look side to side, they got a lot of talking going on inside their head. But I don't see that as lying. When they go side to side, it's the up and down. It's like something's not correct. Something's not correct. If you can happen to see their feet, now I can't show you my feet, but let's say you're sitting and they're sitting at a table with you, and they're turned. You know, they're like turned towards the door, and their body is facing the door, where you're over here, but they've turned in their seat. They are not telling all the details. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to give you the smallest bit of information possible, and the body facing the door says, I am out of here to get away from you as soon as possible. So that means if they happen to be facing towards you, and even if they're not looking at you, but they're facing towards you, they're being upfront with you. So But if they're turned, coughing, looking down, rubbing their face, they're busted. There's so much they're doing that they're not telling you. So those are some signals to watch for. But remember, have a pad of paper. Write down what they're saying. And after they explain the story of everything that happened and you've written down some details, move the paper, cover up the notes, and say, I know you told me what happened, but I want you to tell me again what happened. And you will see them light up like, what do you mean I have to tell you again? Yeah, why don't you go ahead and just tell me again what happened? And don't let them see your notes. Cover them up or have something else over them so they can't see it. And then you have a pad of paper, and you can either draw a column down the middle, and this is the first version of the story. And now here's the second version of the story. And have them tell the story again. And watch the movements. And notice what details come out and what details don't come out. Compare the two stories and have them be accountable for the differences between the two stories. And because now you've asked a second time, because that's happened the second time, you'll notice, you'll be able to see the differences, but you'll notice on the second time, at the end of their way of explaining the story, you'll see them go, oh good, I got through that. Then what you do is go grab your spouse or go grab somebody else and have them come in and go, okay, I want you to tell them what happened. You still have your notes, but now that you've introduced a second person, it changes the dynamics. And if they are telling the truth, the details will come out similar to what they've already told you. If they're not telling the truth, that new person and the dynamics of a new person will throw them off. And you'll see a great big difference on the third time. Now, why do we have to go through all this? Because we want to get to the truth, right? And we're trying to help them tell the truth. And we're trying to help them be more accountable and responsible. But we do this process, or we pay attention to these moves so that we can help them see that telling the truth is better than telling lies. Because a person who lies is going to pay a bigger price. And they're going to have more problems in life than a person who is honest. So we do this because we care about them. We do this because we want everybody to be safe, and we want to be able to have trust. We want to be able to communicate and know that you can count on them. And if you happen to have a teenager who is lying, please don't write them off as they're terrible. They just need course correcting. And you be confident enough to course correct. And if they keep lying to you, don't write them off as bad. Teenagers today need help. They're under a lot of pressure. They don't understand themselves. And social media and so many other things have messed with their head enough. They're a little confused on the inside. In fact, they're a lot confused. And so their stories don't always reveal all the details. So care enough to know that you can make a difference in helping course correct them. So I hope this has been helpful, and stay away from being judgmental and critical. Be helpful, be supportive, and help them expose all the details. For you to be better at sensing and finding the truth in other people, what you can do is actually be better at how your mind functions. And I like to train people about how to clear out the negativity in their mind so that they can be more sensitive to others and if they're telling the truth or not. You see, the more you get out of your head, anything that could be distracting, you can pick up on truth and also lies. So down here below, there's a link. And if you click this link, I have a training course for you, super affordable training course that's gonna help you master your thoughts. Because if you can master your thoughts, you can perceive other people at a higher level. Click the link below, check it out, see if it's for you. And really, if you do take the course, you're gonna notice you can hear, notice, and feel other people's truth. And you can also hear, think, and feel about what they're telling that's not true. Sure helps protect yourself if you're around people who just don't tell the truth. It helps. So master your thoughts so that you can be supportive of others. So click the link, check it out. Before you go, also click subscribe.